Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pick Up the Truth. I hope everyone's doing well today, no matter where you happen to be on this earth. I'd just like to say thank you for viewing and sharing any of the content you happen to find on my channel. And I'd just like you to know that each and every video I create is meant to empower and enlighten each of you in the truth. So much respect to everyone, and thank you for spreading the truth of creation, because the knowledge and truth gives each of us the power and strength to overcome the systems of control and manipulation that we find ourselves in. Now, let's ask ourselves the question: how can we know for sure if the truth in creation is the absolute truth or just another part of the program meant to brainwash us? Well, we all know that the natural earth was created to sustain plant and animal life because we see them every day, freely enjoying the resources that the earth provides for them, just as it was meant to provide for us. But with the invention of time and money, that took that right away from us. So now we're all forced to depend on worthless money and credit to survive in all of these systems of control that were created to exist separate from the natural earth. Basically, we've all been taken out of the natural order of what was created, and now we're forced to live in these unnatural systems. Now, this fact alone is the main reason for our depression. Now, in today's video, I'd like to talk about how the system of time and money is largely responsible for creating the depression and negative emotions in each and every one of us, just as it was designed to do by the powers that invented these systems to control and rule over us. Now we're going to take a look at the gentleman that's speaking about depression in the video we're about to watch. Now, because I studied this video beforehand, I can definitely tell you for sure that he displays Masonic signs and symbols. So we already know that tells us that the people putting him in the spotlight has an agenda written into his speech. And it's up to us to figure out what that agenda against us is. So let's get in it and see what he has to say.
Because there were these two mysteries that were hanging over me, and I was really frightened to look into them. The first one was, why was I still depressed? When I was a teenager, I went to my doctor and I explained that I had this feeling like pain was leaking out of me and I couldn't regulate it and I couldn't control it, and I felt really ashamed. And my doctor told me a story. My doctor said, we know why you feel this way, it's been proven by scientists. There's a chemical called serotonin in people's brains. Some people are just naturally lacking it. You're clearly one of them. If you take these drugs that I'll give you, it'll boost your serotonin levels, you'll feel fine. I felt fantastic when I was told this story. I left, not...
Now, he, like many of us that were programmed to believe in the medical system, would just simply go visit a doctor. But unfortunately, most doctors are trained to label you with some kind of brain disorder if you show any signs of depression for any length of time. And most doctors will never tell you that the true cause of depression is from the unnatural system we live in, because they themselves are trapped in that same unnatural system. Plus, the pharmaceutical system is designed to control the healthcare system so they can push all the chemical pills that they create to control and slowly depopulate everyone with.
Far from here, actually, I swallowed my first pill. I remember it really clearly, and it was a little white pill. And I remember as I swallowed it, it felt like a kind of chemical kiss, and I felt this tremendous sense of relief. And even when it couldn't possibly have been the chemicals, because it doesn't work like that. You don't get it the second. You don't get the feeling the second you swallow it.
Now, you can already see the control that the pill has over him, even before the pill has time to work. He's already put his faith in it and started to feel better.
And for a few months I felt really significantly better. And then the pain started to kind of come back through. It started to bleed back in. And so I went back to my doctor. He said, clearly I didn't give you a high enough dose, we'll give you a higher dose. And again I felt a real amount of relief, and again the pain started to bleed through. I went back again, he gave me a higher dose. This pattern continued until for 13 years with a couple of short breaks. I was taking the maximum possible dose. And at the end of...
Now, instead of him realizing that the pills are not going to cure his depression, his doctor, like many of our doctors, are trained to keep him in the system with higher and higher doses of the chemicals that they know are no good for us and aren't going to solve the problem.
All that, I was still depressed. And I was really reluctant to admit it because I thought there must be something wrong with me, because I'm doing what our culture tells me to do. And I still feel like this. The bigger mystery, which is much more important, is why are there so many other people feeling like this? 1 in 11 people in Britain is taking antidepressants. There are a huge number more people who are depressed and anxious who are not taking antidepressants. There seemed to be an enormous rise in depression and anxiety, which I later discovered there is evidence for. And I began to think, can it really be that all of us just have some kind of chemical malfunction in our brain? If that's true, why have our brains started to malfunction more? What could be happening here? And it's a sign of how reluctant I was looking to... Because
now, his comments here prove to us that he's still clueless to the real causes of depression. But he's the speaker on it.
you have a story about your pain and your distress, even if that story doesn't actually work for you very well, it structures your pain, right? It's like putting a leash on a rabid animal. At least you think, well, okay, I know where it is, right? And if that story seems threatened, it's an extraordinarily destabilizing feeling. And it's a sign of how reluctant I was to look into this, that I wanted to start writing this 7 years ago. I decided it'd be easier to write a book that required me to go and meet hitmen for the Mexican drug cartels, right? I found that less frightening. And I ended up, excuse me a second. I ended up doing this research. So it ended up being a really long journey. I went over 40,000 miles. I went to loads of places. I interviewed the leading experts in the world on the causes of depression and anxiety. And I went to places that just had really different perspectives. From an Amish village in Indiana, because the Amish have extremely low levels of depression, to a city in Brazil that banned advertising to see if it would make people feel better, to a lab in one of the leading universities in the United States where they were giving people the active component in magic mushrooms to see if that worked for depression. Ask me about it afterwards if you want. And I learned lots of things. I think the most destabilizing and difficult thing was the thing I suspected
Now here he's searching through the knowledge of the system that he was brainwashed and programmed with to try to find the real causes of depression.
Might learn at the start. Very early on I learned that story my doctor told me is not true. So Professor Andrew Scull at Princeton University says the idea that depression is just caused by low serotonin is deeply misleading and unscientific. Those were his words. Dr. David Healy, one of the experts here in Britain, said to me, you can't even say that story was discredited, because there was never a time when it was credited. There was never a time when half of the scientists in the field would have attributed people's depression just to low serotonin. And that was really shocking, because for all sorts of reasons, and I can go into some of them if you want to ask about them, but I then looked at this more, and so the depression is measured by something called, now it's important to say, the fact that depression is not caused by a chemical imbalance, which is the position of the World Health Organization, the UN, does not mean there is no value in the drugs that I took. We can actually measure how much value there is. Depression is measured by something called the Hamilton scale. I've always felt slightly sorry for whoever Hamilton was, because that's what his...
Now, there are no value in any of the chemicals that were prescribed to him or anyone else for depression. And I'm being serious here. I mean, if you're on medication for depression, please try to figure out a way to wean yourself off of them. These chemicals that they feed you in this system are no good for you. Now, I'd recommend you getting some cannabis seeds and planting your own cannabis in natural soil and the natural nutrients that they need, instead of buying your soil from the market or online. Just try to go as natural as possible with your cannabis, and that should relieve most of the depression that you feel in this system. And learning truth and learning how to control your emotions so you can feel better about your health and the overall outlook of life that you have. Start basing your happiness more in creation. Look at the plants, the animals, the earth, appreciate all of creation more. And learn how to love people without tying yourself up in the system. Just appreciate people for who they are, and not the system that controls them. Now let's get back into it.
Right, he's remembered, how much misery people have. But so the Hamilton scale goes from 0, where you'd basically just taken a tab of E, to 51, where you'd be profoundly suicidal. And to give you a sense of movement on that scale, if you improve your sleep patterns, you will get a movement of 6 points on the Hamilton scale. Or if your sleep patterns really deteriorated, like when you have a baby, you would go 6 points the other way, right? Chemical antidepressants, on average, important to say this is an average, it's not for everyone, on average give you a movement of 1.8 points on the Hamilton scale. So that's real, right? That's above a placebo. That is a real effect. But for most people, it's relatively minor. Not for everyone, but I thought I was...
That is not very high at all. That is a very minute amount on any scale to try to offer you a real solution. Not to mention the chemical solution that has many, many dangerous side effects that can harm your health. Why would anybody take a chemical pill with such a little success rate? We shouldn't be taking these pills. They're not good for us.
Freak for taking these drugs and still being depressed. In fact, what I learned from Professor Irving Kirsch at Harvard University and the incredible research he's done, which I then spoke to his critics as well, and I really feel Irving's research stands up, shows antidepressants should be one of the things on the menu.
Now, the Hamilton scale was created to confuse and distract the public from the real causes of depression and the real solutions for it.
I don't want to take anything off the menu. I don't judge anyone. 1.8 points is better than no points, right? A lot of people I love are taking chemical antidepressants. I'd never urge them to stop. But that is not enough for most people, right? We need a lot more things on the menu. But that really threw me, because I was like, well, how do we even think about that? I was really struck the World Health Organization.
Now, his comments here prove to us that he's a gatekeeper for the system. Because he continues pushing the chemical pills that poison the people.
Organization, the leading medical institution in the world, made a statement in 2011 around the time I started the book saying, mental health is produced socially. It's a social indicator and it needs social solutions. And I was really thrown by that. I was like, well, this is so different to the story I've been told. What does that mean? What's going on here?
Now, here he tries to tell you about the social solutions. Now, the social solutions are based in the systems that control us. And the solutions there will only mask the problem, just as the pills do.
As I interviewed far more people, as I studied this science in depth, and I was trained to be able to study social scientific research, that was my training, I learned I could find evidence for 9 causes of depression and anxiety. 2 of them are biological. There are real biological contributions. It's important to say that some people deny the biological aspects of depression, they're wrong. But 7 of them are factors in the way we live. And I think not all of them, but a significant number of them, there's good evidence have been rising, and that is why we have this epidemic. And the solution requires a very different way of thinking about it. So I'll tell you, it can sound a bit weird and abstract. So one of the things that connected a lot of these things, as I spoke to scientists.
Now, here he tries to confuse people with a variety of different solutions on his menu that were never designed to cure depression, but only to mask it.
This was this realization. So everyone in this room knows you have physical needs, right? You need food, you need water, you need shelter, you need clean air. If I took any of that away from you, you would be in trouble really quickly. There's equally strong evidence that all human beings have natural cycles.
Now, what he's not realizing here is that the system that controls us has taken away our food, water, and shelter. That tells us right there why we are so damn depressed.
Ecological needs. You need to feel you belong. You need to feel your life has meaning and purpose. You need to feel that people see you and value you. You need to feel that you have a future that you understand. And our culture is good at lots of things. I'm glad to be alive today. But we have been getting less and less good at meeting people's deep underlying psychological needs. And I think that's one of the key, I think it's strong evidence that's one of the key drivers of our crisis when it comes to depression, anxiety, addiction. I actually think it's one of the drivers of Brexit and Trump. You can ask.
And we all know that's because we don't live our lives in truth.
But I'll give you a specific example of something that I think will connect, most people in this room will immediately get. So I noticed that lots of people who I know who are depressed and anxious, their depression and anxiety focuses around their work, right? So I started to look at evidence. Well, what do we know about how people feel about their work? There was this study by Gallup, the big opinion poll research company. It was a massive study. It took over a year. And it looked at how people feel about their work. And this is what it found. 13% of us, most of the time, like our jobs. 63% of us are sleepwalking through our work, so we don't like it, we don't hate it. And 24% of people hate their work, fear it and dread it. So you think about that, right? This is the thing that we do most of the time. The average person answers their first email from work at 7:48 a.m. and clocks off at 7:15 p.m. Think about that. 87% of us are doing something we don't want to do most of our waking lives. And you're almost twice as likely to hate your job as love your job. And I began to think, well, okay, could there be something going, could there be some relationship between that, the thing that's affecting what we do most of the time, and our crisis with depression and anxiety? And I learned there was a man who'd actually figured this out.
Now here he talks about how 87% of us are dissatisfied with the jobs we have. and how that may be a cause of depression for most of us. But hey guys, the truth is that the systems of time and money force us to have a position in this world and programs us to put our faith and belief in it. Now the ones that control us count on that so they can continue to manipulate and force each and every one of us to keep building and working in the very systems that control us. Basically for free. Because the ones that control us know that the money and the credit and even the gold and silver, it's all a worthless system that they invented from thin air to keep us under control and running the systems that control us.
There's an Australian, amazing Australian social scientist I got to interview called Professor Michael Marmot. So I can explain how if you want. I think it's an important story. I tell it in the book, but I'll just give you the headline of what he discovered. He figured out the biggest factor, there are a few, but the biggest factor that makes work depressing, right? If you go to work and you feel you have little or no control over your work, so you're like just a machine, you are significantly more likely to become depressed. You're actually significantly more likely to have a heart attack. And when I learned...
But see, the thing he's not getting is we're all designed to be mindless automaton machines in the system they created for us. It's the way it's designed. Now, we're gonna end this video right here, and I'll be doing a part 2 to this, and we're gonna talk about some of the real things that the system of money and time, how it all affects us, and we'll talk about a lot of things that we may be able to control and change in our lives. So hopefully you learned something from this video, and I want to wish you all a good day, and I hope to see you in the next video.